All right, Serious and Silliness Outcast has a very special guest. We have forensic psychologist and my first cousin, Dr. Maria Beagle.
Hello.
And
Hello.
you're the first doctor in the family in what, 3 generations?
Uh, yeah, three, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. When you put it
Yeah.
that way, I feel pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah. Yeah, in 3 generations. But the rest of us are
Yes.
either electricians or contractors or blue collar guys, and
And
that's about it.
well, my side, I
Longshoremen.
have social worker, teachers. Yeah. So
Oh, okay.
I don't know what side. Yeah.
So today's topic, we're going to be talking about the psychology behind mass shooting, what goes on, um, why it's just become a talking point, and the country hasn't really done much to actually prevent it. And also, we're going to get into a little bit of the demise of the serial killer and the rise of the mass shooter. So the first thing is, what was funny was, well, it's not really funny. It's actually pretty sad. When we started putting this together, I emailed you this morning, and last night there was actually another serial killing. Oh my God. There was another mass shooting. Sorry, I got confused. So it says at least 20 injured, multiple dead from shooting at Alabama Sweet 16 party. And that was last night. And that didn't even get much news coverage. Because I think everybody's getting so callous to it that if there's not more than 5 dead, it doesn't get much news coverage. But it just seems to be a very sad state of events, and it is it's continuously happening on the regular, and the country and school districts they're not doing too much to actually prevent it. It just becomes a big talking point, but nothing. So let me quickly show you what I read about that. Let's see. Okay, so this is more of the rise of mass shootings. So this is from the National Institute of Justice. So this was done in 2022. They did a study, and they said more than 50 years, 20% of the 167 mass shootings in that period occurred in the last 5 years of the study.
Mm-hmm.
It also said more than half occurred after 2000, and 33% occurred after 2010. The years with the highest numbers of mass shootings were 2018, 1999, 2017. And 16 of the 20 deadliest mass shootings in modern history occurred between 1999 and 2019. And the death toll has risen sharply, particularly in the last decade. All right, so I'll let you take over from there. And
So what I remember, I mean, the most famous one I remember when I was in school was Columbine.
Right, yeah.
And that what provoked that was bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't even blame technology back then. Now, that's cyberbullying. That was face-to-face, full-on bullying, from what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
And you had these outliers, these just lonely kids that were just being picked on, and they felt like they had no one to talk to about it. And from what I remember, I guess they felt like they couldn't talk to their parents. I'm not entirely sure how involved the parents were in their lives, and I'm not going to blame the parents. I'm just saying this is the situation that they had for them, and this is just them, and this is what they resorted to. They brought guns into school, and they shot, I don't know how many people, they killed people, and this is what happened. So that was Columbine, and I was a teenager, and I remember that happening, and it was terrible. And then I remember, this is how the schools try to be proactive. We couldn't carry book bags anymore, and you couldn't wear hoodies because no one knew what to do. It wasn't, I don't remember them saying, we're going to have an anti-bullying thing, or we're going to be more proactive with mental health. I don't remember anyone talking about mental health. It was no more book bags and no more hoodies.
Right.
What the schools talked about. Maybe there was some, I don't remember it though. I just remember being a teenager, and I wasn't allowed to carry my book bag around, and I couldn't wear a hoodie. So that's what I remember. Mm-hmm. And then as time went on, I don't remember. In college, I remember the college shooting. Was it in Tulane, or what was the college shooting? Do you remember?
Oh, there was so many of them. There was the one with the Asian kid at, it wasn't MIT. It was another one. I don't remember. But there's been so many.
Yes. Yeah. And you know what? They were few and far between though back then. And this is, this is more in early 2000s. So I'm sorry, I should have specified, I'm going to be 40 in May. So, I'm a bit older than, so Columbine was 97, I believe.
It was the late 90s. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, that was when I was in college, it was, early 2000s, and then, early to mid 2000s. And then now you're hearing more and more. And then what it comes down to is you're finding out more and more that it's more mental health, and that's always the common denominator, is there was a mental health issue. And whether or not people want to admit it, you always get the, okay, what can we do with gun control? Gun control does come into play, but really there's a mental health issue here, you have something wrong with you to pick up a weapon and want to shoot a bunch of children. Really, that is the issue here. You're choosing to take a weapon with you and shoot children.
Right.
Like, that is what you're choosing here. And you don't really need a gun to do that. What about the guy there was the parade? He chose to take his truck and run down people in the parade.
That's right. I agree. I don't think it's a gun issue. And I think that is one of the talking points of the left. They make it a gun issue.
More so than the mental health.
Yeah. So let me actually, just to get to your point, actually, there was another study done by Psychology Today, and this came out last year as well. It's July of 2022. And it says 98% of mass shooters in the United States are male. Another point was feeling inadequate compared to peers creates long-term insecurity that makes certain individuals more likely to become mass shooters, which is what you brought up, the bullying. Another point was mass shooters tend to experience difficulties with identity and insecure in masculinity. And another point was most mass shooters do not satisfy the diagnostic requirement for mental illness. In my opinion, I don't think it's an accident that during the rise of mass shootings, we've also seen a rise of the collapse of the nuclear family.
There's statistics behind that.
And if you want to, in the long run, if you want to really resolve the problem, that's where you would start. So because if you're having trouble figuring out what masculinity is, and you are being bullied and you don't know how to deal with it and you're suppressing it, I think a large majority of these mass shooters today also come from single mother homes. If you don't have a father figure or a father that teaches you how to deal with your masculinity and how to deal with issues and whatnot, and teaches you how to deal with problems, then this is going to only continue, in my opinion, I think pretty well-researched opinion. Today
and you might find research in that, and I'm not entirely sure. I haven't found the research in that, but I do believe consistency in the home is huge. That I, being a school therapist, have found that the population I work with, I found that there is a lack of consistency in the home. So I work with a population that I'm a school therapist, but specifically with students who need the support more than just the typical population. So they need more support than usual, and family therapy is a huge part of that. And really, we're talking about there's a lack of consistency in the home. And whether or not you're talking about a nuclear family, I mean, there are some that that doesn't have that, there are single parents, but there are parents that there are two. However, there aren't there's no consistency. So you
Right.
do have a great point. However, there are the others where are they? You know, what are they doing? You know, yes, they're there, but they're not there. You know, there's just no consistency, and I think that's huge. You know, we were brought up, you and I, yeah, we're family, so we were brought up the same way, that at night we sat together at the dinner table. Do you know how many of my students don't know what that's like to sit together at the dinner table? They don't even have a dinner table.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah.
To just have a conversation with their family at a dinner table. What is that to these kids? They have no idea. And that's a family unit and that's kind of like what you're saying is huge. And that's just, it's unrecognizable to them.
And it's not, it's unrecognizable to them, but it's not being addressed by the United States, period. If I have a teenage son and he goes and shoots up a school, I mean, the first question that comes into mind is, why wouldn't the parents know? Why wouldn't the mother know? Why wouldn't the parents know? How do you not know that your kid is plotting this? How do you not know that this kid has gotten his hands on ammo and weapons and so on and so forth? So if it comes down to these boys have a identity problem or they have a masculinity problem, then I could only assume that no masculine male has showed them or taught them. And that's missing in a lot of homes. I mean, 50% of actually divorce is a little bit down now because that's only because nobody's marriage is down, you know. And so you have this generation of lost young men. Okay. And the white kids do one of two things. They resort to, you know, some kind of violence like this, or they kind of go with an outcast group, if you will, right? And the black kids usually resort to, in the inner cities, they usually resort to joining a gang and thinking that that's masculinity because they don't have anybody to show them at home, right? Mm-hmm. So the two major problems we're having is single mother homes, and we've seen this a lot. This has been on the rise, choosing weak fathers. We've seen this a lot. And a weak father can't teach your son. There are certain aspects that only a woman understands, that can't understand about a young boy. And one of them is dealing with rejection from other women, other girls, right? And that's a big concern. And now it's greater than ever. Dealing with rejection, dealing with your sexual identity, dealing with how to deal with bullies. I mean, when we were young, and my father or my brothers, or, you know, for argument's sake, your father found out that you were being bullied, he did one of two things. He forced you to go fight the kid. And I remember this happening to friends, where a friend would run home scared that his bully was bullying him, and the father would literally walk him to the kid and say, now you have to fight him. Mm-hmm. And would watch his son defend himself. And what he was doing was he was creating the idea that you have problems and you have to deal with them.
Handle it yourself.
Yeah, you have to handle it yourself. The other thing that would happen is you would put him in some kind of, you know, self-defense, wrestling, boxing, mixed martial arts, something like that. That would enable him to protect himself. If you have a single mom and she's working all day long, and then a single mom's instinct is to be protective. So she might go to the school and talk to the principal, talk to the teacher, and that just makes matters worse because then he looks even weaker. Mm-hmm. And the bullying and the making fun of just continues. And now today we have even more so on social media. The bullying never ends, right?
Yeah.
So in my personal opinion, I think the long-term issue would be resolving that, but I don't see anybody even speaking about that, right?
Yeah.
The short-term issues, there are people, I want to show you something. There are people coming out with inventions and are proposed to Board of Education in certain districts, and only a couple of districts are actually investing in this. Let me show you this. This is really impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. This was introduced in, I believe, Alabama. Yeah. Watch this. I'm going to shut the audio off, but watch this. This was a demonstration of a bulletproof pull-out classroom if there is a mass shooting in the school. And that lady just pulls it out. You could fit up to 30 students in there, and you lock yourself in. There's no way to get in, and it's completely and totally bulletproof. And that girl was maybe 130 pounds that pulled that classroom door in. And that's it. And you're in that safe zone, and you can't get in. You would think that at least in the short term, the United States government would invest in every district and put that in, or at least a bulletproof, crash-proof door on all entrances, better security. But none of that is being done. None of it is being done. It's just becoming a talking point, and then it's just getting worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. So what's your take on the points I just brought up?
I mean, no, you make good points. I mean, yeah, we talked about family units, and we talked about there's so many supports out there for family units, in a sense of, well, how do you get families to stay together? That's up to the system, which I can't speak on because I work for a school, and gotcha. But there are social workers out there, and there are supports out there to try, like, if we're talking about to get fathers to stay, and they're freaking out, like, oh my God, I have a kid and I don't know what to do, I'm out. Well, there are things to do for you to help you stay, and just ask, or there are education, basically, there are things out there. But I don't know what they know. It's what is being taught to them. What do they know about being a dad? What do they know about being a father, about supporting your family? Having a baby is not just physically having a baby. There's so much more to it. However, you can do it. You can do it. You can stay. You can be a father. Like, is there? Do they know that there is a way for? Do they know that there are people out there to help them? Is just what.
I'm gonna counter your point. Yeah. And I do agree with you somewhat on that point.
Yeah.
The other point is 70 to 80% of divorces are filed by women. And then you have
is it after the fact that they left? Just because is it filed because they already left? We don't know why.
No. It's but let's 70 to 80
already a cheating matter. Was there? Do we know? We don't know why.
I get it, but it seems to be that is first reaction as opposed that should be last reaction. 70.
Agreed. It should always be a last resort, but we don't know why they're filed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it has become increasingly easy for women to file. Matter of fact, the stats get worse, actually. 70 to 80% of women file for divorce. It's about 50% divorce rate. It's a little lower now. It's about 45 because marriage in general is not as.
I would like to know statistically why.
Yeah, and it goes up to 9.
They already left, and
it go. I don't think 80% of fathers are leaving. First of all, there's no incentive for fathers to leave. If they leave and they file for divorce, they lose everything. They lose their children. They lose money. They lose the house. And then it goes up to 90% when the girl is college educated.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you have a system that incentivizes women because they know that they will keep the home, they will get money, they will keep their children, and then the father becomes an every other weekend dad, which is not even close to enough to be a good role model for their children. That's not even close to being enough. And then even if you have to discipline them on the weekends, on the every other weekend that you do, and that's the only time you see them, what are you going to do? Punish them for every other weekend that you see them? So it just becomes a real problem.
So that's why I mentioned before about consistency in the home.
Right. Yes.
And that's the biggest issue that I see working. So, and I'm going to shift a little bit. I think
Good.
the biggest, one of the other issues I see is, and this is just one of the biggest pet peeves, it drives me nuts, is personal responsibility is another
Thank
issue.
you. Yes.
Is just huge. And when we grew up, even if the teacher was wrong, the teacher was right.
Mhm.
So I could come home and complain all day about, and I knew better, but one time I did, and I just thought, oh God, 5th grade, I'll never forget it. This teacher hates me. No, too bad. It's something you're doing wrong. I don't care what it is. You better figure it out. And I never complained about the teacher again.
Yeah.
Lo and behold, when I was an adult, my parents said, yeah, the teacher didn't like you. And
Yeah.
she was pretty rotten, but guess what? You had to figure it out. And the teacher was always right, because we grew up where you respected authority, and it's just not the same anymore.
And again,
it's just,
well, you're 100% accurate. I went through the same thing. I remember my mother saying to me and my father saying to me, if the teacher is worse than your other teacher, then that means you have to try harder.
yeah.
Right. It wasn't like, okay. So once again, I don't want to sound like I'm beating a dead horse, but when you see single moms, their instinct is to be very protective, and their discipline is usually when the kid gets on their nerves. If the kid is really bothering them, they will discipline them, or whatever the case may be. But once an outside source says your child is acting this, or your child, whether it's school, police, neighbors, somebody else, then they become protective and they go, no, it's not my kid. Whereas if there is a somewhat of a masculine, responsible man, the attitude becomes, well, what did you do? Let me hear what you did first before I react, right? And I think that's what we're lacking. I think there's there's 50% divorce rate, and 50% of the kids in the country are born out of wedlock now. So this whole idea of this family unity is crumbling. It's almost non-existent anymore, right? You have more kids that come from divorced homes than ever before. You don't have, and then when I do see a trend of women dating non-masculine men, they're dating very, very quote unquote nice guys, which really means just weak men who you can walk all over, and so on and so forth. and then you're seeing women that are delaying marriage and having kids up into their 30s and 40s and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then the problem, now I said the problem with the women, the problem with the men is it's been generations at this point where the men don't know how to act like men. They don't know the responsibilities of a man.
Yeah.
And there are stats that kind of show this. A lot of kids, young men under the age of 30 would go to work, go home and play video games or smoke weed or drink, or they don't go out. There is, I believe in the last 10 years or the last 12 years, the amount of virgins in men under 30 have tripled. Yeah.
They don't care about it.
They're not. So, and the average testosterone level has dropped tremendously too. So you have a weak man generation, or a no man generation, not there for young men, and it's becoming a disaster. You see it in the inner city communities, and you see it in the white communities, right? And it just plays out differently, but it's the same problem. And then you don't have to go too far to really prove my point. If you look at the communities that still have family values and traditions like we grew up in, like in Middle East, like a Middle Eastern, Indian, Asian community, those communities are thriving. Those communities have businesses, they own property, their kids are going to school. The majority of them are not dropping out of school. The majority of them are going on to higher education.
Statistically, still in the United States, the wealthiest nationality is the Asian.
Asian, absolutely. Yeah. And then if you look at a community that doesn't have those family values or morals, they are the communities that are falling apart and are on a paradoxical treadmill going nowhere fast.
Yeah.
So, and so I think the combination is mental health is definitely an issue. I think the destruction of the family structure, which nobody talks about. And I also, here's another thing that nobody brings up. When we read the traits of boys that are mass shooters, it says socially awkward, rejection of sex, rejection from girls. Young girls today have the most selection that they've ever had in their entire life because of social media, because of things like Instagram, dating apps, so on and so forth. When we were growing up, you dated the guy in your school, the guy in your neighborhood, right? Or the girl in your school, the girl in your neighborhood. That's pretty much what you had to choose from. Maybe you went to college and it kind of got a little broader in college. But now, even if you're an average looking girl, your DMs and your Instagram are filled. And if you are a good looking girl, it is just nonstop, right? So if you're a good looking 21-year-old girl and you're in college and you have a 21-year-old kid that likes you and he's in college and in class with you, but he doesn't have a pot to piss in because no 21-year-old kid does.
No.
But you have the ability for somebody to reach out to you from another city and say, hey, I'll fly you out. And it happens all the time. I mean, all you have to do is look at the spots where, like Miami, Vegas, so on and so forth. So if you give a girl that selection, she's obviously going to select, those, right?
Yeah.
And then the young man that's working hard at 21, who's like working CVS and it's in college, he's getting nothing. He's invisible. And this is a first time problem that nobody's really addressing. This is a problem that and this leads to bitterness. This leads to I hate women. This leads to I hate life. This leads to who do I go to talk about problems like this, right? When there's nobody to talk to. And I really truly believe that these are really the traits, excuse me, the reasons behind the influx of mass shootings over the last 10, 15 years. What do you think?
I agree to some point, but I still think there's an ass for every seat. I just think that I still think there's someone for someone. There is someone for everyone. So that guy working at CVS, there's a whole world out there. And I think due to technology, I feel like it should be easier for him to find someone.
No, it's actually the opposite. It becomes it becomes more difficult for young men and much easier for young women. I'll give you an example, okay?
All right.
I have 3 YouTube channels. I have a podcast. I have Facebook. I have Instagram. I have TikTok. Ask me how many DMs I get from girls, as opposed to people that I'm reaching out for interviews or to collaborate and so on and so forth. It's a donut. It's 0. And I don't think I'm an ugly guy. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm in the prime role of my life. I'm making money. I'm in shape. I'm older. Right. I interviewed this one girl who was a fitness girl. Absolutely gorgeous knockout. And I asked her, how many DMs does she get a day? And she goes, I don't know. And I said, just give me a roundabout. She's like, I don't know, a lot. And I was like, more than 500? She goes, yeah. I said, more than 1,000? She goes, probably between 500 and 1,000 a day, because she's beautiful. That's it.
Get it, but you're not looking.
But she's not looking. They're not looking either.
But the guy from CVS, if he was trying, I believe he would find someone.
You go to a CVS?
No.
What?
Yeah, like I go to a drugstore.
What's the guy's name behind the counter that works there?
I haven't gone to it in a while. I did
exactly.
Right. Amazon. I'm not looking. I'm not.
I know. But this is what I mean. But this is what I mean by the young men feel invisible and they feel inadequate and they feel less than. And these are just some stats that show that younger men, especially white men, are becoming less than. And then you also got to put in the feminization of the country. You have this whole men
I
Yeah,
feel like we're sensitizing men too much. I do feel like I do feel like as a whole, men and women, we're too sensitive. So
yes.
here's my thing as a therapist as well. And I just said this recently, you know, as mental health before, when someone had anxiety or depression, it wasn't something that they shared often. You know, it was something that was very personal. You didn't share that. And it wasn't something, maybe it was something like you shared with family, or, you know, maybe a close friend, like, oh, I saw my therapist today and it was really helpful because I told them about this, that, and the other, and they gave me really good advice. Now people blasted all over Facebook, like, my therapist told me about this, and this was and it's like, holy crap. Like, before, you know, when you went into therapy, like, it was like really a private thing. And
Yeah, nothing is sacred anymore.
And then, okay, I get it, you know, we're not, mental health isn't taboo anymore, and it's fine. But so here's the other thing. It's when someone has anxiety, it is truly debilitating. You know, there are feelings of, I don't know if I can function right now because of how debilitating this is. As opposed to someone who's like, oh my God, I feel like I am going to freak out because I just saw my ex-boyfriend walk in the store that I'm in right now. That's not anxiety, okay? That's not anxiety. You're a little nervous right now.
Agreed.
Oh my God, I have a test today. My anxiety is through the roof. That's not anxiety. You're nervous. And that's what people, and it drives me nuts because we're throwing around these therapy words, these mental health words, and you have no idea what you're talking about.
100%.
Anxiety. That's not test anxiety. I think test anxiety means you're about to faint and you can't even function and breathe and you're sweating and you're going to pass out. That's actually test anxiety. When you're nervous about a test, that's okay. You're nervous like every single other person who takes a test. Or like, so we're really like crossing a lot. It really bothers me when
I agree completely. And what happens is we tell young men, hey, look, it's okay to be involved in your emotions and so on and so forth. And what happens is that you're not handling your emotions. You're just you're literally thriving in these negative emotions.
Go ahead, cry in public. Tell Facebook how you feel. No,
right.
Go and, like
exactly.
Deep breaths and like everyone. It's like we all feel this way, but you don't have to like tell the whole world. There are some things you just feel in private, and it's just, so we're really like making the whole world so sensitive to every single thing, and then you're starting to really make people overly sensitive. And I think this is going back to part of the shooting issues. People are getting overly into their whole emotions, and you're making them feel like it's okay to be overly, it's okay to be overly into their whole head. And it's not okay. It's not okay to, you're doing it wrong. Like, this is not how you do it. Like,
and we've seen, especially for young men, when young men can't get control of their emotions, you see them act out. And because young men are naturally violent, then they act out with firearms and mass shootings, and even, I can't say the word on YouTube, but even self-deletion. What a lot of people don't understand is that 70% of people that commit self-deletion are men. And it's made mostly because they use firearms to do it. More attempts are made by women, but more completions are from men. And again, these are things that nobody addresses. And go ahead, I'm sorry.
But it's very frustrating because we're not teaching people to deal with things the right way. Like, we were taught more like, go outside, go throw the ball around, go be active. And now it's more so talk about it, post it, do that. And it's like, no, that's not, no, like, yes, talk about it. Yes, you should talk about it, but not in front of strangers on Facebook, like maybe with a close friend, maybe if it's truly debilitating, yes, talk to a therapist. Obviously, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite here, but but doing it for attention is not exactly the most appropriate thing in the world. Like,
Yeah.
yes,
Agreed.
supposed to be more active and get a hold of yourself is basically what I'm trying to say here, and know what real mental health is.
Yeah, agreed. Completely
I'm so
agreed.
anxious. You're not anxious. You're nervous like everybody else.
Anxiety, depression, narcissism, toxicity, these are all words that people throw around and they have no idea what they're talking about. They have no clue.
Someone shared, I should have found the article before because I don't want to get on my phone and waste your time, but it was I think it was some kind of article. They want to make it an actual diagnosis where you have some sort of anxiety disorder if someone doesn't respond to your text right away.
Dear God.
So that's what I mean. We're making people overly sensitive, and this is
you're making everybody overly sensitive. You're making men weak. You're masculinizing a woman by saying that she could do the same as a man, and you don't need a man, and it's embellished in our society, and so on and so forth. And it's just
to believe that I don't need a man to do things. I do.
I
do. Yeah. I can't work the damn can opener, and it's so embarrassing. But I need him to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Listen.
I need him to work the can opener.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, and I wish I could say I wish I could say I don't need a woman, but I do. We all do. And you
work a lawnmower.
Yeah.
Nor do I want to.
Yeah, exactly. No, you and I both know that true masculinity and true femininity complement each other.
Yeah. We have a great arrangement. We have a great arrangement. You want to do the laundry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm just going to switch to one more topic, and I know this is more of your expertise.
Yeah.
We've discussed why there was an incline in mass shootings in the last, 20, 30 years or so. But at the same time, there's a massive decrease in first world countries, that is, because it's still very high in third world countries. In first world countries, it's a massive decrease in serial killings or serial killers in general. And I don't think that it is an accident that that's the case. I mean, I know society has changed, but I don't think that it's an accident that we see a decrease in serial killers and an increase in mass shooters. We've described why we think mass shooters exist and why it's on the rise.
Yeah.
Why do you think serial killers have been just increasingly on the low in the last 30 years or so? And it's only in first world countries.
I kind of wonder if they got smarter.
Really?
No. Well, I think technology has been so advanced that they're on to them sooner.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That after the first, maybe second victim, they're not able to get, they're not able to move on to the third, fourth, fifth victim. But
the perfect example was the STK killer? Right.
Okay.
Is that which
familiar.
Was
yeah.
Okay.
But sometimes I do wonder if there's so many such good shows out there that show that the advance in technology that I do wonder if serial killers are ahead of
I believe it's if it's STK, I think it was strangle, torture, kill, right?
Yeah.
STK killer. That's the perfect example as to why I think, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said technology and for the increase in technology and forensics and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they get them quicker.
Yeah, that killer killed in the 70s and 80s and then stopped for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And then in the 2000s, he started again. And in 11 months, they caught him. 11 months after I forgot when it was, 2000, I don't remember exactly. There was actually a documentary on Netflix about it.
Yeah,
but during the 70s and 80s, they had no idea. They had no clue they couldn't. But then once he stopped and then he started again and he started doing the same thing, writing letters and provoking the cops and so on and so forth. And of course, they put together a task force, and 11 months they got him. And the way they got him was they had bloodstains from the 70s and 80s that had his DNA. But when they had a when they had a suspect, and if the suspect was okay with getting a swab, they would just match the DNA. Well, what happened was they had a suspect. This person did not want to get a swab, but what they were able to do was he had daughters that went to college, and in that college, the daughters went to the dentist, and they had DNA samples in the college, and they were able to take their daughters' DNA samples, bring it together with his DNA left over from 35 years ago, whatever the case may be, and it was a match. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I think in first world countries we have so much technology and we have so much advancements on forensics that they just can't do what they used to do. Because in third world countries, there's still serial killers still exist to the point where it's like, I mean, the numbers are astonishing if you look, 20, 30 kills, Good. So let me give you your take on it.
I do think I wouldn't doubt that they're still going on, but they themselves are smarter. They know where to. I hope I'm wrong. I don't want people to be dying, murders to be happening, but they know where to maybe put them, how to, what's the word I'm looking for? Just bury them, or what's the word I'm looking for? I can't
decompose.
But I am looking for a word. Yeah, how to get rid of the body. I do think they're, because you can watch like these documentaries and even these shows and learn so much on how, what I'm like, oh my God, wow, I never even like thought of that. Oh my God, where do they get that from? And it's true. Like, oh God, what was the show recently? And it was very accurate. I forget what it was. It was pretty accurate though. But because I researched it, I'm like, oh my God, this is like really accurate, according to whatever. But yeah, you can just learn so much from it. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope the statistics are right that, there are serial killers are down and, they're on it. But I also wonder if maybe they are still out there and they're smarter too.
It could be a combination of both. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It could be a complete combination of both.
The guy, the Idaho college killer? Well,
no.
He's alleged because he's not charged yet. He was arrested. So he's actually he's local here.
Okay.
He's the local guy here, and he getting his doctorate in Idaho and or whatever, and he's arrested.
Oh, I think he killed students, right? Yes, I do remember this. Okay, continue.
Yeah. So Netflix already did a thing on him. And there's never even a court case. I told my husband, I'm like, I can't believe they already have something on him. And he was just arrested. Like, I'm like, that's the first. Now I watch, not Netflix, I'm sorry, the ID channel. But
okay.
Watch it on, or Hulu. It was Hulu or Netflix, one of them. And I'm like, I watch ID all the time because I'm obsessed. But I'm like, that's the first time ID has, I feel like, maybe not the first, but it's rare that ID ever has anything where they have it on someone who's not even charged. Because typically at the end, you see like, okay, they're serving this amount or this, like they have a conclusion. There's no conclusion. Like this guy, there's not like, I don't even think they had the first court case yet. Like, right? I mean, they're already on this guy. And he was just like they just put that.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly they jump on it, right? And Netflix.
I think it was like when they got him when he came home for Thanksgiving. That's when they got him, Thanksgiving break.
Yeah, I think you're right. I have to review on that, but I know the story, but I don't know it thoroughly. But yeah, it's Netflix documentaries are fantastic. The rest of Netflix is crap, but Netflix documentaries. I mean, really, most of the streaming service shows are garbage, but the Netflix documentaries are fantastic.
I'm on the last season of You.
I didn't watch that one, but after this, I'm going to go continue the documentary on the Boston Bombers. When you get a chance, watch that one. It's fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, I remember watching the movie and it made my blood boil.
Oh, this one does. I'm watching it last night. I'm like, I can't. I was like, oh my God. It was you get so angry because it's like
words went through my head.
Yeah.
I had it in me to say these words, but yeah.
Well, Dr. Maria Beagle, I want to thank you for coming on. I know you'll come on anytime because you're my cousin, but that's different.
Of course.
But I truly admire your expertise, and of course I am very proud of you because you're my cousin.
Thank you.
and more aspects than one. Not only your education, but like you're going to be a grandmother soon.
Yeah.
You have two daughters. You have two daughters.
Due in July. I think he's gonna come soon. I'm thinking like end of July.
Right.
But yeah, due in July, early July.
You have a fantastic husband, and you have great daughter. You have great kids, and
Thank
I mean,
you.
and you have grandchildren on the way, and that is something that I wish I am unfortunately never going to be able to experience. Right?
You can adopt. It's not too late.
Yeah, there was like this 17-year-old Vietnamese girl I was interested in.
I meant it differently, but I mean, I don't think Alyssa would be down for that.
No, definitely not. No, that was obviously just a joke. But
I know.
well, but I admire that and I envy that, and I'm very proud of it. And if we were running the point before about family unity, and all you have to do is look at your immediate family. Your two sisters and your brother, all of you have careers, are married, have children, grandchildren, and every one of you turned out to be spectacular.
Thank you.
That's not by accident, right? It's because you had great parents.
You too.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You guys all careers.
Yeah. And that's not
You're
my
great uncle.
That's right. I know.
Great uncle.
I know 3 times over. It's amazing.
To 3. Oh, I want to eat them.
Yeah.
I want to
and
eat
that,
them.
Yeah,
it's delicious.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
But I just want to thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. And
Of course.
we will definitely do another one. Unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be a shortage of mass shootings, which I wish there were. But hopefully we'll see some kind of short-term solution and then maybe a long-term solution. I think certain politicians could actually run on it, and that would be, that would be a bonus. DeSantis, if you're listening,
the most recent.
I'm sorry.
There was a manifesto, the most recent.
Of what?
In Tennessee, the Tennessee shooting. There was a manifesto. Yeah, I'd like to read that.
Wow. Okay. Well, when you do, let me know, and we'll do a show on that.
Yeah, part 2.
All right, Dr. Maria Beagle. I will talk to you soon.
Yes. Good night.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.